everybody, welcome back to yet another video, a vlog actually. And this vlog's not like other vlogs. This vlog is 20 years in the making. See, as a child, I randomly decided, based on a garbage bag full of hand-me-downs, that inside contained a little football with a Steelers logo on it, that I was a Steelers fan. So from that day forward, I have been repping the black and gold. That is my villain origin story. So shortly after our wedding, my wife and I decided that we were going to go to a football game. Lucky for us, the Steelers were coming to LA and they're going to play the Los Angeles Rams in SoFi Stadium. So immediately I went online to see how much the tickets were going to be, and they were pricey. I'm not going to lie. And I couldn't justify spending that amount of money just to drive to LA, a place that I don't love, and watch a football game. So on a whim, I decided to just see how much it would be to get a plane ticket, Airbnb, and game ticket, because since that moment of holding up that little football, I've always wanted to go to a game in Pittsburgh. Upon my extensive research, I realized that it would be pretty much the same price to drive to LA, spend the ticket on the game in SoFi, as to fly, get an Airbnb, and buy a ticket in Pittsburgh. So that's exactly what we did. We YOLO'd and we got tickets, and then I waited. While I was waiting, I created a little bit of a bucket list, just 4 easily accomplishable things while in Pittsburgh. Number 1, I wanted to go to the game, which I had the tickets, but I bought them through Ticketmaster. I know Ticketmaster's had its ups and downs lately, and I would have hated to just fly all the way there, stand in line just for them to say my tickets were not valid. So it wasn't 100% that I was going to the game. So go to the game was number 1 on the bucket list. Another easy accomplishable goal. I wanted to cross one of the very many bridges that they had in Pittsburgh. I love bridges. Bridges are awesome. Jeff, Leon, London, all the bridges. I love them. The third item on my bucket list was to try out the local food, see what they're all about. From my understanding, Pittsburgh was known for sandwiches more than anything, but I wanted to see what it was all about. What is the hype? Is it going to live up to the hype? And finally, I wanted to go to a thrift store so that I could get the most discounted Pittsburgh Steelers gear in all of the land. With my goals in mind, time passed by. It was the day that we're going to the airport. We have all of our stuff packed. Jonas drives us to the airport in the middle of the morning. Shout out to Jonas for that. And we get on the plane and we take off. You've been on a plane, so you know exactly what it was like. There is nothing of note that happened on the plane. We land, we go to the Airbnb. Then immediately I get on YouTube and look up things to do in Pittsburgh, because for me, I don't like to have this itinerary with every second of the day scheduled out for me. I like to let the city speak to me. Have some ideas of what I want to do, but let the city speak to me. And so that's exactly what we did. On the YouTube video that I watched, which if you looked up things to do in Pittsburgh, it would be the first one that popped up. Shout out to them. They mentioned that Mount Washington was the best view of the city of Pittsburgh. So we made our little trip over there. We took this trolley all the way to the top of the mountain. Thank God, because I was not ready to hike. I was not prepared. I did not have the right shoes. None of that. It was really cold there in comparison to California, of course. It was like warm for them, but it was cold for us. We were shivering our little butts off. Our butts are probably honestly somewhere in Pittsburgh still. If you find it, let me know. Call me back at this number right here, 1-800-LOST-BUTT. Apparently these trolleys were used for coal miners back in the day to travel to and from the coal mine, which was really cool. It felt like we were in history a little bit. And as we approached and as we got onto the trolley, I imagined myself as a coal miner back in the day, just taking that trip and hating every second of how slow the trolley was. It went 5 miles an hour, but it feels like I lost 50 years off my life. I could just imagine after a long day's work, all you want to do is get home and have a sandwich because you're in Pittsburgh and you're sitting there. Some guy's talking to you about something that you don't care about, and you're like, gosh, I'm going to be on this trolley forever. I don't know if I'm ever going to make it home. I'm definitely quitting by the end of today. So all that's going through my mind as we're going there. We finally get to the top 7 years later, and YouTube didn't lie. It was a beautiful view. They had these lookouts all over. You could see the football stadium, the baseball stadium, how the three rivers connect, all of downtown. It was gorgeous. So once we got our fill of all the beautiful views that we could take, our eyes couldn't handle anymore. We headed back down the trolley. 7 years later, we get to the bottom. We head to downtown, walk around for a bit, get a feel for the city, have a great time. But then I check my watch and I realize it's game time. And that is number one on my list to go to this game. So we hop in an Uber, cruise to the game, and start walking around. Now, this is my first time at the stadium. I've been dreaming about this essentially my whole life. So we got there really early and took in all the sights and sounds and smells of everything. I want it to be a core memory for me. It was really cool seeing that many people dressed in all the Steelers garb, because I'm in California. I don't see it very often. Most fans that I run into are extremely passive and can't hold the conversation about the Steelers beyond they won, they lost. So it was really cool. Everyone that we talked to on the streets or in Uber rides, I was able to have such an in-depth conversation with them about Steelers from the 2000s and the 2010s and all these different things that I fill my head with all this knowledge just for this moment, apparently. But people were tailgating, barbecuing, doing all the things outside the stadium. They had little games. They were face painting. It was cool. It was an event for sure. So after perusing the outside of the stadium, it was still too early to go to the gates. But, I got my fill of what I wanted to see. So we cruise over to this little spot where there's a bunch of bars and whatnot. And there's these people on the sidewalk and they're grilling up burgers. So I was like, I got to get me one of those burgers. So we had it. It was fantastic. It did not take us as long as I thought it would to eat. So we head into the bar. We're just planning on grabbing a couple drinks, killing a little bit of time. And then these people who were fairly inebriated cruised in, sat next to us at the bar, and became our best friends. They told us where they were from. They told us their life story. They were going to a Pitbull concert. It was a wild time. We loved them. We had limoncello shots with them, patted them on the back, and sent them on their way into the night. So by this time, the gates were opening, and it was time to enter the stadium. I'm sweating. I'm not going to lie. I'm just hoping that these tickets are legit. So we get up. It's our turn to scan them. First one scans, we're in. Second one scans, we're in. We accomplished goal number 1. We made it to the game. Our seats were up fairly high, so we had to walk this stairway, so to speak, to get upstairs to where our seats were. So I made sure that we walked every inch of the stadium that was available to the public, saw every angle of the stadium, watched the players warm up, explained who every player was to Macy. She was a champ. She probably cares 0%, but acted interested and asked follow-up questions. And that's all I'm looking for. Just pretend to care, even if you don't. I think she does, but nonetheless. So we finally make it up to our seats, and they've got the giant, terrible towel waving out in midfield. Then they introduce the teams, and TJ Watt runs out. My favorite player right now on the Steelers. Got his jersey. It came in a week after we were in Pittsburgh, which disappointed me extensively, but I got to rep Troy Polamalu while I was there with my very first jersey I ever got as a kid. TJ comes out, does his thing. Cameron Hayward's coming back from injury, so he's the last to come out of the tunnel. He puts on a show for everybody. Coin toss happens, all that good stuff. They're getting ready for kickoff, and I'm just filled with all of this emotion. It's unexplainable. It was pure joy. Fulfilling one of my dreams, being there, getting to see these players in person. And when the ball was kicked off, I was just overwhelmed in the best possible way. The game starts going. Steelers drive down the field, score a touchdown on the first drive. And I'm like, they have not done that all season. This could be good. Now, I mean zero disrespect to the Tennessee Titans or their fan base, but I did choose the game against the Titans thinking the Steelers had a pretty high chance of winning. Now, that was before the season started. I did not realize their offense was going to be absolute trash this year to where they should be paying me to have to watch it. But I digress. Steelers come out. Steelers score right away. I'm like, sick. But the Titans are starting a rookie quarterback who started last week and threw for 4 touchdowns. So I'm like, I don't know if we got to keep scoring points because this guy's probably going to score a lot of points. Defense came in, did what it does. The game was close all the way through. The referees were so excited to be there that they made themselves so known by calling the most egregious penalties throughout the entire game. I felt like I couldn't go 1 minute without a referee throwing a flag and saying something. And I'm like, bro, we did not pay to come see you. We paid to see them. So the last drive, Titans are out of timeouts. Referees keep bailing them out, giving them first downs for fun. Awesome. Steelers are getting screwed like normal this season. It comes down to one play. Will Levis surveys the field, gets the ball, cocks his arm back, throws it to his tight end, who looks open in the end zone. And out of nowhere, Quan Alexander jumps in front of the ball, intercepting it, sealing the game for the Steelers, and we walk home eating W's. It was crazy in there. It was so cool to see everyone waving their terrible towels, getting to experience them playing Renegade in the fourth quarter with the defense out there for the first time. I've seen videos about it, but I've never been able to be there, so it was so sick. And I've had a terrible towel for quite a while, but it has not been waved once in public because I wanted to wait until I got to my first Steelers game in Pittsburgh for that thing to wave. And boy, I waved it to where I almost broke my wrist because I was going so hard. I realized by the second quarter that I was completely going to lose my voice, so I started to chill and just wave that towel and clap a little bit because I was not trying to be the rest of the day. We win. We slowly peruse out of the stadium, taking in all the sights, sounds, smells, everything, just, really making it a core memory for me. So we get on our phones because we're going to Uber back to that Airbnb. It's about 12 a.m., 12:30 a.m. Eastern time. The prices for the Ubers were insane. We were only going 3 miles to the Airbnb. I was not willing to pay the amount that they were trying to get me to pay to go back to the Airbnb. So I was like, let's walk for just a little bit, and then we'll recheck in with Uber and cruise the rest of the way. We walk out of the stadium in this sea of black and gold. It was beautiful. I loved every second of it. We get about halfway to the Airbnb. It's 20 degrees out, which for us is freezing cold. We're used to 70 degrees, and we call that cold. I check Uber again. It's even more expensive than it was at the stadium. Surging prices, it's really busy, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, look, Macy, let's just walk back. We're already doing fine. We're about halfway there. Let's just cruise. So we're walking as fast as we can to keep our bodies warm. We cruise for another few minutes, and we think that all we have to do is go up this hill and turn this corner, and we're back at the Airbnb. But boy, we were sorely mistaken. We were actually still a solid mile away from the Airbnb. So we're walking, and I hear this voice breaking through the night. And I look over to my right, and there's this truck pulled over, and this man yelling out of his truck asking if we want to ride. Now, normally, stranger, danger. But something inside of me just said, you know what, you can trust this man. He'll get you home. So we hop in his truck. I kind of survey to make sure it's nothing dangerous and I don't have to jump out. And I see this man's wearing a Troy Polamalu jersey, just like me. And I was like, oh, this is my brother. We're going to get in this truck and we're going to cruise. So we told him where our Airbnb was. And he's like, yeah, I got you. No directions, nothing. He drives us, tells us his life story. Apparently he's a retired guy. He says every day is Saturday for him. So by the end of it, we exchange numbers and he invites us to breakfast the next day. 9 a.m. sharp. He's going to pick us up, take us out to breakfast. And I was like, you know what? It's the least I can do. You gave us a ride in the middle of the night. It saved us an extensive amount of money on Uber. So we can have breakfast for you. We planned on paying for it. 9 o'clock rolls around. No phone call. I look out the window. He's not there. So I was like, okay, maybe he forgot. It's fine. So we give him about 30 minutes. He doesn't show up. And we realized he wasn't coming. He was just, our little guardian angel for the night. And we'll never see him again. I have no proof that he exists outside of his phone number being in my phone, but we've never actually spoken. My guardian angel drove me home that night. So we only have a little bit of time to go back to the stadium the next day because we're doing a Hall of Fame tour and a stadium tour. So we Uber back over, very reasonable price, like $10. And we find this breakfast spot and they take so long to get us our food. I get we're the problem because we're the ones in a hurry. But I just felt like it was an extensive amount of time. I saw so many people get served before us, and I was getting a little bit heated, I'm not going to lie. So by the time we did get our food, we had 5 minutes to walk from the breakfast place to make our appointment for the Hall of Honor Museum. So we go, shove as much food in our mouth as we possibly can, pay for it, cruise. We're running, we're walking. My stomach's getting upset, the food's not settling well, and I'm like, this is not the state of mind I want to be in to go to the Hall of Honor Museum. But nonetheless, we make it on time. We get there, and the Hall of Honor is a really cool place. They started it, I think, back in 2017, and it's just their version of the Hall of Fame. Each football team, most sports teams have their own Hall of Fame outside of the giant Hall of Fame where like all the legendary players are, but it's more local legendary players. And it's this really cool thing where they just honor players of the past. But what I really enjoyed about it was that it takes you through the beginning of the Steelers all the way to present day, and it has game-worn uniforms, game-used cleats, helmets, everything, and there's videos explaining the pieces that you're looking at. It goes through each decade, each era of the Steelers, and it was just really cool to see all that history in a tangible way. I've seen videos about these things, but to be able to be in the same room as some of the equipment worn by these legendary players was awesome. So once we finished that, we head back outside of the stadium to another entrance where we're doing the stadium tour. When it comes to the stadium tour, the only thing I wanted was to go into the Steelers locker room. It's been my dream. I want to do it. I should have put it on the bucket list, but then my bucket list wouldn't have been complete because the Steelers locker room was unavailable that day. My heart sunk. I was a little bit sad. Did I get to stand out on the field and all that good stuff? Yes. It was a great time. I saw things I hadn't seen before. The stadium tour was really cool. Got to see the Super Bowl trophy replicas, all of that stuff. I did want to see the locker, though. But I think because we were unable to see the locker, we turn a corner and there's Steely McBeam, my boy, the unofficial mascot of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I got to take a picture with him. This is me and Steely, living our best life. We're best friends now. We exchange numbers. We talk every night before bed. Love the guy. So as with most tours and museums and things, they make you go through the gift shop to close out. So I had to cop myself a little something. And I grabbed this hat with my boy Steely on it. Kind of a big hat guy, if you haven't noticed. So after our 2 tours, morning had turned into afternoon, and I really wanted to check out this place called Randyland that I had seen on the YouTube video I checked out. So I guess back in 95, great year if you ask me, this man bought this plot of land on a credit card and decided to make it colorful and have all these art installments and upcycle from all these old kids' toys and just different things that people would have no use for, upcycled them and made it into this fantastic piece of art. It's open pretty much every day, year round, and some of the times Randy himself is there because he literally lives on the property, and people will come in, take their photos, check out all this really cool stuff, and it's just in the middle of a degular neighborhood. It was really cool. So we walked around there, took our photos, got some video, as you're seeing right here, and it was just a really cool time. So would recommend Randyland. Following our day full of tours and sightseeing, we worked up an appetite, and every Uber driver that we had, beyond being extremely nice, helpful, and recommending all these different things to us, all said one place that we had to eat: Primanti Brothers. So being tired, we headed back to the Airbnb and we ordered in Primanti Brothers. Now, Primanti Brothers has been around since 1933, and I guess back in the day, they were hoping to entice more truck drivers to come to their spot. They sell sandwiches primarily, by the way. And so what they would do was fill the sandwiches with French fries so that truck drivers could keep one hand on the wheel and be eating their entire meal. And so I thought that was just a really cool thing. It reminded me a lot of California burritos, so I was like, yo, I'm about it. So we order our food. It's fantastic. I save you from video of me eating, and I'll just have you imagine me biting into this delicious sandwich full of French fries. 10 out of 10, would recommend. We knock out the next morning. We have to check out of the Airbnb, and we have to catch our flight. So To this point, I've gone to the game, I've tried the food, I've crossed a bridge. Now all that's left for me is to thrift some Steelers stuff. So we head to Cracker Barrel before we have to go to the airport to get some food. I love me some Cracker Barrel. I've only been there twice in my life, but I love it. I don't know if it's just because it's not very available to me. It's like the closest one's 100 miles away. I'm not going to drive 100 miles, but I'll fly a few thousand. So we wrap up at Cracker Barrel, and on maps it says that Goodwill is just down the street. What I didn't know is that there were no sidewalks where we were going. And so I have our luggage, and I'm rolling our luggage on the side of a grassy hill, trying to frogger my way through traffic to get to where the Goodwill is. It was such an incredible journey. It was harrowing, but I made it to the outside of the Goodwill. I opened up the Goodwill doors, and I was ready to find something. So we looked through the entire store, and I see nothing to do with Steelers stuff. And I'm like, is my journey not good enough? Did I not do well enough on the side of that grassy hill to earn Steelers stuff at a discounted rate? And so as I hang my head down low and I'm getting ready to exit, I notice by the door there's this rack, and I see things that are black and gold. So I go up, and it's a rack full of just Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates merch. The mother load. I hit the mother load. So I grab as much as my hands can handle, pack as much as my backpack will fit, and we order an Uber and head to the airport to head back home. I would say that overall, Pittsburgh lived up to the hype for me. I had a lot of expectations going into it, and normally I like to subdue my expectations because I don't like being disappointed, but it lived up to every expectation that I had for it. The game lived up to every expectation that I had for it. It was a 10 out of 10 time. The people that we did interact with were so nice. Everyone was so helpful. It was just really cool to be in the city, to really get a feel for the blue collar community that they have there. So shout out to Pittsburgh, because y'all are gems. Also, shout out to my wife for taking me / going with me and enduring all of the football madness. You're amazing. I love you. Thank you. And finally, I just want to give a shout out to you, because you made it to the end of this vlog. And for that, 100 gold stars is coming your way. I have honestly been giving out a little bit too many gold stars lately, so I should reel it back, but you deserve it because you made it to the end of the video, and I appreciate you and I appreciate your time. So until the next video,